Thank you for joining us for another power-packed message provided by Munroe Global Incorporated and MunroeGlobal.com. We transform followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change. We hope that this message is a blessing to you as you advance your life and discover your purpose. Now, let's go into the message.
The power of succession planning. My dad, 5 years ago, encouraged me to move home and join him and work along with him in the family business and eventually into his international ministries. It was not something that I intended to do once I graduated with my master's. It is something that I really wasn't interested in, to be honest. I simply wanted to graduate, land me a great job somewhere in the U.S., start my career, find a beautiful wife, produce some beautiful kids, and live. But as fate would have it, God had some different plans for me. My dad invited me to come home, so in 2009 I moved back to the Bahamas and started working along with my dad. It was at that time that I submitted myself to him completely. He has been my father at that point. I think it was maybe 25, 26 years. But he was not yet a mentor to me. He has mentored me, or he has been mentoring me, but he has not. I really didn't submit to him as a mentor until I moved home. There's a difference. Someone can choose to mentor you, but it is impossible for them to mentor you the right way if you do not choose to be mentored by them. So I submitted myself to my father, and for the past 5 years, I've been working day in and day out with him, traveling most of the places that he's been to. I've met most of the people that he has met. So my relationship with him was strengthened as a father-son relationship, and also as from the business side of things and the ministry side. I've learned everything I know today because of my dad and what I've learned in these past 5 years. When things happen, we don't really understand it at the time until something, like November happens, and then you look back on your life and you realize that, wow, everything that has happened up to this point has happened for a reason, to prepare you for the time that you are about to enter. So I feel that my dad was mentoring my sister and I for this very moment, and I think it started from we were young kids, and 5 years ago I think it took a more direct line into our preparation. When my sister and I were young, we would travel with our parents, I think around the age of 10 and 11, and my dad would do this thing where he would invite us on stage to greet the congregation or wherever event he was to. My sister and I hated that. I personally hated it because I was not a very outgoing person. I was a very shy, very subdued, didn't really like to speak in public. So it was something that I preferred not to do, but my dad would continue to do it. And it was one of those things where, you would say, like I remember sometimes I would tell him, if you invite me up on stage, I am not going to come. And you're just going to be embarrassed or whatever. But we can't do that, and he knew that. I loved him too much to embarrass him. So even when I asked him not to, he brought me up on stage, asked me, asked my sister and I to say something. Now, what that did was that prepared us for right now. Right now, I am not nervous at all. And what my dad was doing was mentoring us, preparing us for, I don't know if he knew it, but for what we are doing today. And that brings me to the power of vision. You can bring the screens up. Vision is, I feel, the fundamental thing when it comes to leadership. Until you discover what your vision is in life, then you really aren't living for anything. When you know what your purpose is in life, then you're usually giving that purpose in pictures in your mind. Those pictures seem a bit far-fetched at times, may seem like something that you are unable to reach, unable to grasp as an individual, thinking with your human mind or seeing with your human eyes. But what vision does is gives you an idea of the future God has for your life. It's something that normally we don't expect ourselves. Sometimes we don't see ourselves in the vision that God gives us. God, is impossible for me to be that person you're showing me. Because right now I am timid, I am scared, I am broke. I don't have I'm single. I don't have a family. I don't have the support system that I need. How am I going to make it to that point? Well, here's what vision is. Vision is the ability to see things as they should be and not as they are. True vision is the capacity to see farther than your eyes can look. Eyes that look are common, but eyes that see are rare. So you may see, my dad did this illustration with a seed all the time. He would hold a seed, an imaginary seed, most of the time in his hand, and he would ask you, what do you see? Your natural response would be, I see a seed. A visionary's response would be, I see a forest. Because inside a seed, there is a tree that bears fruit, that bears seeds, that bears trees, that bears fruit, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you guys have heard that seed, tree, fruit, seed. I loved it when he did that. That was something that stuck out to me. But the visionary sees much further than the human eyes can see. True vision is not limited to natural sight, but is an internal revelation of a future occurrence. True vision is the source of personal discipline. And this is very important. I feel like as individuals growing, trying to discover who we are as human beings, we don't really gain a sense of stability or discipline until we understand why we are here. We go through life trying to discover that, and I can attest to this. There are times where, I don't know, I'm not sure what the reason I was placed here for. But once you find out, once you discover your purpose and you are given a vision, and it makes sense, it also has to make sense to you. And eventually it will. God puts us in certain places, brings us in the environment of certain individuals so that they can trigger our inner baby, that vision that is birthed in us, to reveal exactly what that vision is. As a visionary, we become stable in our growth in life, in our movement. Everything that we do, once we discover who we are, is geared towards that vision. We have less time for distractions. We have less time for stuff that isn't important anymore. As young individuals, we tend to, well, let me not say young. As individuals, as human beings, there is a period where we just want to have fun in life. Some people do that earlier than others. Some people take a little while to get to that point. But it happens. And it's not until you reach a certain maturity level, doesn't matter your age, it's how mature you are, you get to a point where you start to say, well, this makes no sense, because this does not allow me to help another individual or individuals to better something with the world. We all are placed here to better our environment. We aren't placed there to be selfish individuals, to make a lot of money, for ourselves, produce just something that we are able to use and to enjoy. We are placed here to create either a product, a service, or products and services that will assist in bettering humanity. And that's where vision and purpose plays a big role. Once we discover who we are as individuals and we see the vision for our life, it focuses us in such a way that, distractions just don't matter anymore. Certain things that we enjoyed prior to, we just don't enjoy anymore. There's no fun in it anymore. There's no sense in it anymore, because now we're seeing the bigger picture in life. And that's what vision does. Vision disciplines you and it focuses you just to be a bit more influential. And influential in whether it's a small circle or a large circle. You could be influential amongst your family or amongst your friends. But that is a body of individuals that you were placed there to inspire, to influence, to change, to develop, to mentor. So that at some point, they will then discover who they are. They will see a vision for their life and do the same for their circles. Right? So, next, a leader is born when vision is captured. Leadership is born when vision is captured. Once we discover who we are and we capture our vision in pictures, then our leadership, inner leader, is born. Vision is always greater than the visionary. The vision that you have for your life will always seem like something you are unable to achieve. And I think God does that for one specific reason. So that when you do achieve it, you cannot say that it is something that I did. And I think that that helps you as an individual to stay humble and not believe that you are the end-all, be-all. It also encourages folks that see you, those that might have known you a bit better than others, and may say it is impossible for him, her, to be doing what they're doing, knowing where they came from. So it encourages also other individuals looking at your life to say, wow, look at how far they have come. And it is an inspiration, and it also encourages people to want to discover who they are and want to better themselves as individuals. Vision is seasonal. Vision is seasonal. Vision is something that my father's vision, the vision that he had for his life at the age of, I think it was 13, when he was a teenager. His part of the race was from his teenage years to the age of 60. It took me a while to admit that my dad died empty. That's a hard thing to admit, for a child. And for me, especially, who I thought that the vision or the purpose for my life was to assist my father in doing what he was doing. I thought that is it. That is what I am supposed to do. That is what I am going to do. That is what I was happy and comfortable doing. So when that is snatched away from me, I had to battle with God with this, okay, I don't understand now. I thought we had an agreement. I thought you gave me a vision for my life. But it seemed like I was watching the wrong channel. So for me, it took me a while to understand this seasonal vision. Vision is developed for a season. My dad's vision was not meant for him to bring to pass. Vision is generational as well, and that speaks to what I was just talking about. His part of the vision is done. His leg of that race is finished. Now the vision is being passed on to my sister and I and everyone else that he has impacted and that wants to carry this legacy on. It is now our turn to run with this baton, to run with this vision and better the vision. You know, the vision that he has received isn't going to be the vision that comes to pass. It's going to be a better vision. Because as my sister and I and everyone else carry this vision or take this vision forward, we now receive new pictures to enhance this vision and to make it much grander, much bigger, much more larger than it could be, or than my dad could have made it. Vision is transferable. And vision is generational. Leadership is born when vision is captured. I feel that the foundation of passing it on has to do with vision. Here's why. If there is no vision, then what is being passed on? Think about that. As leaders who lead a group of people, a group of individuals, or as a father or mother that leads a family, if there is no vision for your organization or your ministry or your family, then what are you going to be passing on to the next generation? That is very important, because this next verse, I think, is going to illustrate that. In Habakkuk 2:2, the Lord replied, write the vision down, write down the revelation or vision, and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it. Now, it says, write the vision down as part 1, and make it plain as part 2. Now, the reason why it needs to be plain is because when the next generation takes hold of this vision, it needs to be something that they can understand. It can't be something where there are words or illustrations that are far-fetched and makes no sense to them. It needs to be something that is simple enough that can be passed on to the next generation to be carried forward. The herald in that verse is the next generation. Myself, my sister, other individuals like you sitting in the audience. We are the heralds that are going to be carrying on the vision of the visionary. The visionary has done their part. They write the vision down and make it plain. Simple, straightforward, but very important. And it's sometimes something we as leaders take for granted. You know, we feel like we are always going to be here. We are always going to be in this position, always going to be able to encourage or support this next generation. But tomorrow isn't promised, so we have to live as if we aren't going to be here tomorrow. So we need to write the vision down and make it plain today, so that when we leave something to pass on. We leave a legacy, we leave a vision, we leave a purpose that is going to be enhanced and that is going to be transferred to generations to come. This next verse, Proverbs 29, verse 18. Let's read this together. Ready? Read. Where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth, happy is he. Let's read it one more time. Where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth, happy is he. Where there is no vision, the people perish. The visionary is no longer with us. I am sad for the only fact that my parents are no longer here. But I am not hopeless. I am not discouraged. I am not unhappy, because the visionary has died, but the vision has not died. The vision lives on within us. When you understand what the vision is, when you know exactly what the vision is, the purpose that a vision has been established, and the visionary was doing everything that they did to enhance, to encourage, to move forward with this vision, then you in turn, there is no beat skipping. You know, the heartbeat, you don't skip a beat. regardless of what happens, regardless of the individuals that are being replaced, as long as the vision is the foundation of what we're doing, the personnel doesn't matter. As humans, we grieve, yes. I'm still grieving my parents, still trying to come to grips that they are no longer with us. But the vision is intact. That is because it was written down and made plain. There is no doubt in my mind that we are going to perish because the vision is already here. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But I am happy because there is a vision. And my dad did a great job. My dad did a great job of preparing all of his organizations, the local church in the Bahamas, his international organization, and the International Third World Leaders Association. We are here, we are able to move forward because the vision is clear. There's no doubt in our minds what we need to now do to move forward. Amen. The visionary is in here, but the vision still lives. My dad did something when I moved to him. He made me the CEO of Myles Jr. International. At the time, I just took that as him allowing his son to practice what he has learned, from his schooling. But now I'm realizing that he was putting in place his successor. So I have been under a 5-year teaching course under Myles Munroe. So his training has prepared me for whatever is about to happen. Amen? Let's look at leadership. Leadership is the capacity to influence others through inspiration, generated by a passion, motivated by a vision, brought by a conviction, produced by a purpose. This is a definition that my dad took about 30 years to coin, according to him. It is something that we as leaders need to understand. And by the way, there is a leader in each and every one of us in this building today. I just want to make that clear. I don't want you to be sitting there thinking, oh, he's not talking to me because I am not a leader. We are all leaders in our own area of gifting. There is something that you were placed on this earth for that the person sitting next to you can't accomplish. That makes you a leader. That gives you your unique fingerprint on this life. Because you were made for a reason, and now it is your duty to discover what that reason is and to bring that to life. So, leadership. Leadership is the capacity to influence others through inspiration, generated by a passion, motivated by a vision, brought by a conviction, produced by a purpose. The greatest act of leadership is mentoring. As a leader, the minute you discover your leadership ability, the next thing you need to do is prepare your successor. As a leader, the greatest thing you can do is to mentor someone to take your place. My dad wrote this book, Passing It On. This book, I promise you, has not made more sense to me until these past couple of months. Because if you have ever doubted that book or the book on vision or any book within the leadership series, my sister and I should be living proof that that is possible. We are passing it on, that book brought to life. It is something that I look at every day, and I'm understanding certain things my dad would have said or certain reasons he would have wanted us, in a certain room with him among certain individuals, because all of it was a process of teaching and preparing us for this very moment. My dad knew that he wasn't going to be here forever. He also knew that because of that, he needed to put in place a succession plan. As leaders, the most important thing that we can do, it's not making money for whichever organization you're working for. It's not changing certain laws or rules within the organization or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. The greatest duty of a leader is securing the future for the next generation. And you do that by preparing an individual or a group of individuals for that future. We as visionaries, we as leaders, have to understand that we won't be living on this earth forever. Everybody has an expiration date. No one knows what that expiration date is. So in order for us to be prepared for that expiration date, we need to prepare another individual to come into this leadership role that we are currently in. So my dad always taught me, whenever you accomplish something in leadership, whenever you get a promotion, whenever you gain a new title, the title is not important. What you do with the title is more important. The number one thing that we need to be focusing on as leaders is transferring the vision, the purpose, the attitude, the character, the morals that we hold as visionaries to the next generation. And here's why. If we don't pass all of that along, somewhere along the lines, that is going to get destroyed. A leader fails if the successor is not successful. So it doesn't matter how much money you've made while you were in the position or while you were here on earth. If that money or that fame or that whatever you want to call it dies with you, you are a failure. So the only way to be a successful leader is to mentor someone. To select someone to succeed you to be successful. And that is what the book Passing It On talks about. As once we discover our vision and our purpose in life, and we know who we are as individuals, as leaders, we start encouraging other individuals who want to be mentored or want to learn from what we have as leaders. We start teaching them everything that we know. We reproduce ourselves in them, so that when we are no longer here, it will be like we never left. You know, my dad has poured himself into so many individuals that I still am able to hear him speak all the time. I hear his voice, I hear his words, I hear things that he would have told me in private, I hear on a daily basis. It's because he has done exactly what a leader should do. He has reproduced himself so much that when I'm standing in front of you today, in your head, you're saying, wow, he sounds just like his father. And that should be the goal of a leader, to reproduce yourself in such a way that when you are gone, people won't even recognize it. They won't see you physically, but they will hear your words, your teaching. They will see you in every individual that you have been able to come in contact with. So the important step in leadership succession is selecting or identifying a mentee. Now, the success of a leader is determined by the success of the successor. So just as much effort as you're putting into the bottom line of the organization, the margins that have been set, everything that you are trying to do for this company, just as much effort as you put into that, you need to put into preparing your successor. Because if everything you did or everything you believe, all the morals that you have is not passed on correctly, then it's not going to make sense. It's not going to be worthwhile, because eventually it is going to fail. And the only thing you will be remembered for is he was in charge of a company, an organization, a ministry, a group of individuals that used to be successful. Mentoring is very important. So, as a leader, the one thing that we need to focus on is the one thing that my dad focused on all the time was mentoring. It is why he believed so much in people. It is why he devoted so much of his time into allowing people to discover their inner leader, their purpose, their vision for their lives. I've heard countless amount of stories of folks that have read one of my dad's books, that has heard one of his teachings, that has changed their lives completely, because he has poured out everything that he has learned. He has already laid the foundation. He has already done the hard work. All we need to do now is listen, take notes, read, and discover who we are, capture this vision, and now move forward. Amen? So the next step in leadership is mentoring, preparing your successor to be successful with the vision that you have. And my sister will expand on that. Thank you.
And again, let me repeat. You know, you could imagine going through life, being a leader, being a great leader, having had this vision, written it down, made it plain, and then you met your demise. And then what? You worked hard for 30 years, and then you met your demise, and then nothing. There was no one to pick it up and carry it on. You took everything down with you 6 feet, and nothing. Now, you may have been a great leader while you were alive, but when you die, if there's nothing else to carry that, no one else to carry that on, you never wrote a book, you never put your vision into someone, then you would have wasted actually 30 years of your life. You would have wasted 30 years of your life. So I want to talk about the importance of mentoring in succession for leadership, because leaders should want to reproduce other leaders. The problem we are having today is leaders are so selfish. They want to be a leader, they want to be the best leader, and then they want to be the only leader. That's what separated Myles Munroe from so many leaders. He was a great leader all by himself, didn't care what you thought about him, didn't care what you said to him, didn't care what you did to him. As far as he's concerned, I'm a leader, and I'm going to make you one too. I'm going to make you become that leader that you are. My brother said before, everyone in here has that leadership capacity. We were all born to lead, but we all must become that leader. So the greatest act of leadership is mentorship, because you must now train. You must now train someone, and you must want to write your vision, make it plain, and now give it to the next generation. But there must be something to pass on. There must be a vision. There must be something for you to give to the next generation. If my dad did not write his vision down, if he did not make it plain and then repeat it over and over and over again for the last 30 years, my brother and I would know absolutely nothing, or we would be confused, or we would be all over the place. But his vision is the same. When he was 13, his vision was the same when he passed at 60. It never changed. Same thing as God. His reason, Jesus' reason on this earth was the same when he was born to when he passed. That there was no confusion. There was no, I'm not sure what he did. I'm not sure what he stood for. You know exactly what Myles Munroe stood for. When you leave, are we going to know exactly what you stood for? So there must be a vision for you to pass on to your successors. And mentorship is important because every leader, it is my hope that every leader was once mentored by someone greater than themselves. Whether you want to believe it or not, you didn't become great on your own. Someone or something mentored you. And you should still be, even at your greatest peak of leadership, being mentored by someone who is even greater or smarter than you. As intelligent and as wise and as great as my dad was, he still subdued himself under about 5 mentors that he was accountable to. Because as far as he's concerned, no matter how great I am, I still don't know everything. There is still so much for me to know. So he always asked questions. He was always reading. He was always trying to make himself better. And he was always making sure that everything he did was aligned with God. So there was someone there to slap him on the back if they needed, or someone for him to go to and bounce an idea off to and say, tell me what you think. Again, leaders are selfish. So if they feel that they're going to talk to someone about bouncing an idea, their thought is, oh, but then that someone is going to steal my idea. Really? Not everyone is out to hurt and to harm us. And we have to trust that God is going to take care of us. Every leader should still be mentored and accountable to someone. So mentoring involves encouraging another person to serve in their area of gifting. And that is exactly what my dad did to my brother and I, and to the rest of the world. He did not just mentor someone, he did more than just mentor someone to take over. But he mentored someone to continue. My brother, myself, and each and every one of you. It's not just my brother and I. My dad wasn't selfish, so we're not going to be selfish. And we cannot carry this on our own. The vision was so big, but you must be careful what visions you're following. There's so many visions out there. You must pray for that spirit of discernment so you know that, okay, that vision that person has that God gave them or didn't give them is the one I want to follow, is the one I want to say carry on. Because each and every one of us have our own vision and our own purpose in life. You being mentored by someone doesn't mean that you don't have your own. Doesn't mean that you're not your own leader. It just means that they are exactly where you would like to be in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 2 years. So you want to kind of follow them to see how they got there, what they did, where did they go. You want to meet the people that they were associated with, because you want to get there. And then when you get to where they are, then your goal from that point should be to get further than where they were. And that is what Dad always taught. And I always said, anytime he had us greet anyone, I always said, about 4 years ago, I made a decision to intentionally come under his mentorship, because I realized that he was somewhere where I wanted to be. He was so smart. How did he get there? There's something that God is telling him that he isn't telling me. So let me get close to him so I can rub shoulders, so I can see, okay, let me just kind of be quiet. Let me become a student. So that allowed me to learn. And I always would say, I'm here because God told me to make this move, and I did, and I want to become like him. But no, I actually want to be better than him. And that is exactly what he wanted from my brother, from myself, and for each and every one of us. Not to do exactly what he did and stop to where he was. We are now to become even greater. So mentoring is the greatest and highest responsibility of any leader. It's your responsibility to mentor someone. It's not an option. It should not be an option. You should automatically want to teach someone, to train someone in their area of gifting, so that when you are gone, they can still, it's now their time to shine, and they can still carry on whatever it is you taught them, and your name will never die. If you did something for 30 years, you had a big company, or you had this great vision, you never taught anyone, you don't have any success, or you passed away, in about 6 months after your burial, I can promise you, we will not remember you. I will not remember you. But if you have 1,000,000 successors and you have students that you've trained, 6 years from now, we cannot keep saying, we cannot stop saying, Myles Monroe said this, and Myles Monroe did that, and Myles Monroe said this, and Myles Monroe did that. Jesus did this, and Jesus did that. You know, you can kind of, the name still carries on, and it still is alive. That's because what they did on this earth is continual. It should be continual. So mentoring is the transferring of durable things, things that will not wash away, things that cannot break, things that will not die. So yes, when my dad passed, there's a house, there's a car or two, there's some money, there's maybe even some property, and that's probably going to go to my brother and I without saying. That's an inheritance. That's totally different. Because that can't go to anyone but he and I. It kind of stops right there. But that's durable. All those things, hurricane comes to the Bahamas right now, the house is gone. Get into one accident, car is gone in a second. If you don't have any discipline, you spend money just like that, and it's gone. So it should be durable things like vision, passion, wisdom, character. Those should be the things. Those were the things that attracted me to my dad. The person that he was. Visions that should live in people, not in buildings, not in things. In 1 Chronicles, let's look at this verse, 1 Chronicles 28, verse 10. It's a good example of mentoring and succession. Consider now, for the Lord has chosen you to build a house as the sanctuary. Be strong and do the work. Then David gave his son Solomon the plans of the portico of the temple, its buildings, its storerooms, its upper arts, its inner rooms, and place of atonement. He gave him the plans of all the Spirit, and he put in his mind for that the courts of the temple of the Lord and all the surrounding rooms, for the treasuries of the temple of God and for the treasuries for the dedicated things. He gave him instructions for the divisions of the priests and Levites, and for all the work serving in the temple of the Lord, as well as all the articles to be used in its service. So that's exactly what my dad did. He gave his vision, he gave books, he gave instructions, he gave advice, teachings, he gave resources. There's so much that he gave. We have, as leaders, we have no excuse. We have absolutely no excuse. When I see government dignitaries, I'm so excited to see them here because they are in places where a lot of us young people would like to be one day. And we all want to know, how you got there and what did you do and what made you so smart. But those are questions that I would like to just ask them right out. And it should not be a dumb question. It should be a question that I can ask them and they can tell me. And I said, oh, okay, let me go and try that. That, simple as that, mentorship. Mentoring is about training and preparing for the future. Succession is about transferring and transitioning to the future. So even though the two go hand in hand, they're slightly of a different function. You're mentoring because you want to prepare and you want to train for succession. And succession is important for future generations. Mentoring is important because you need to train and prepare for succession, while succession is important because you need to transfer whatever is taught to the next generation. Succession requires working yourself out of a job and making room for the next phase of leadership. Now, how many of you want to work and work and work until you can make all the money in the world? You're on your deathbed, and then if you can, you would even work then. No, I'm sure that's pretty much all of us. We don't ever want to consider intentionally working ourselves out of a job. But you're thinking about it, even though it may not be a literal thing. You're thinking about working yourself out of a job, so you're automatically training someone else. You're automatically teaching someone else. So there is going to be a next phase, but there has to be a next phase. There is going to be a next phase. Jesus said it in John 16:7. But I tell you the truth, it is for your good that I am going away. Unless I go away, the counselor, as we know him, the Holy Spirit, will not come to you. But if I go, I will send him to you. Even Jesus knew that he had to leave in order for us to do what he taught. He taught his disciples for years. He trained them how to do miracles, make the blind see, deaf hear, the lame walk, how to overcome demonic spirits. He taught them that. But they continued to be lazy. They continued to call on him. Their faith was this small because they knew that he was right there. So they did not encourage, they did not motivate themselves. They weren't motivated to take that step out of their comfort zone, like my brother and I, to now do what they were taught, because they knew they could call on Jesus. Same thing with my brother and I. You know, we had no problem being in the background, making sure that Daddy was kept up, but we were in the background, at the book table, little greetings here and there. That was comfortable. That was fine. For us to be thrown out like this is definitely uncomfortable. But that is what is making us become. And that is what is growing us. So are we going to continue to be lazy leaders? Or are we going to be excited for our mentor to say, okay, now is your turn? You know, God must have known that if he hadn't recalled my dad when he did, my dad would not have stopped. With all good intents and purposes, he would not have stopped, because as far as he's concerned, for as long as he was living, he had a purpose to fulfill. So every day was purpose-filled for him. But clearly God thought that it was now our time. It was my time, it was my brother's time, it was your time. It was now our time to shine. We couldn't, because we would forever be in his shadow. And God knew that we were bigger than Myles Munroe's shadow. The disciples were bigger in their time than Jesus' shadow. So he moved out of the way. Know that you are going to die and accept that you are only temporary. That means from now, senator, mayors, government dignitaries, pastors, business owners, plan for your departure. Plan that one day you are going to be out of office. But plan to make sure that when you are out of office, someone like you or greater than you is now going to follow. Imagine all the work that you would have now done and put into place for the last few years. You have someone that follows, that throws it away. That's actually going to be a poor notion on your part. You're not going to put it on the people and say, we voted them in. No. So it's important. It's important that we now, from this moment, as leaders, plan. Those of you who say, okay, I don't own a business, I'm not a pastor, I'm not any government leader, I'm just a mere person. Well, first of all, no one is a mere person. You are mentoring and training someone whether you believe it or not. Even if you are just a parent with children, you are mentoring them. If you want your child to one day be greater than what you are because you are a mere person, then you need to mentor them. You need to train them. Train up a child in the way that he should go, so when he grows old, he will not depart. Finishing well. Dr. Munroe said this, finishing well is more important than starting well. Because we can all start with a bang. Obama started with a bang. We can all start with a bang. But if we are not going to finish with that same bang, then our starting would have been in vain. Finish with a person, and not with a project. So I want to talk to all of you because we are all mentoring someone. We are all wanting to leave this earth and leave our name behind. A true mentor decides. It starts with a decision. Decide that you are going to produce others greater than yourself. Leadership is not selfish. Leadership is for the world. Leadership is for the benefit of people. So you want to make everyone that you come in contact with, you want to make them greater than you. Not less than you, not your equal. You want them to be better. As a mentor, be qualified to mentor someone. Now, qualified means that you have been tested. You have been tried. You have been through some things. My dad has been through some things. Jesus was tempted 3 times. He has been through some things. Because if you haven't been through some things, then you're still what I call green. So you and I are on the same level. You can't teach me anything. But I want someone who has been through, and then who has been through, and is able to come out on the other end still standing. Please, make sure when you look for a mentor, they are on the other end. They're not still in the midst of what they're going through. You know, you always hear my dad talk about his Baintown story, and where he was born and how he was raised with his 11 siblings and, you know, sleeping on the floor with roaches and, you know, having just a small house with 11 people crammed in it. I mean, that's going through something and still having faith. You would never know that the man you saw before you, before November 9th, was the person that slept with roaches, who had asthma and on many occasions had to be back and forth to the hospital, almost died, but God delivered him. I mean, he's been through some things. So when you have been through, when you have been tried and you've been tested and you've come out on the other end because of your faith in God or because of God's love for you, then that's a mentor. Now you want to mentor someone because your purpose from that point is to make sure that no one else makes the same mistake that you did. So if you can save someone's life, if you can save someone's character from being crushed the way yours was, then that's a true leader because now you're interested in the other person and not yourself. Mentors must be patient and tolerant. And I say that as an important fact because not everyone that you mentor is going to be, of course, they're not going to be on the same level as you. They may not have the same brought-up-see, the same intellectual level. So you want to be, they're going to make mistakes. So you want to be tolerant and you want to be patient of them. Don't expect them to be the person you want them to be the very next day when you start that mentoring-mentee relationship. Continue, you know, correct them when needed. Give them a little rope to almost hang themselves, but be there to pull them back because every time that happens, growth occurs. But you as a mentor have to be patient. My dad had to be so patient with my brother and I. I'm sure he may have wanted us where we are now a long time ago, but he understood, first of all, that every person has their own purpose, their own potentials, and everyone is different. So he allowed us to be that. He allowed me to be Charisa. He allowed Charo to be Charo, for us to kind of learn where we were going to be on our own and let God deal with us ourselves. And when we came on, he was ever so excited, but it was perfect timing. Any time earlier may not have been God's time. And then you would have messed up a whole legacy. Mentors, show recognition. Show recognition to those persons that you are mentoring, that you are leading. Let them know when they're doing something right. Let them know when they're actually doing something good. The problem with leaders they are too selfish. Everybody wants to get all the shine. Everybody wants to get all the applause. They don't want anyone else on the side of them to say, you know, good job. But tell them, that they're doing a good job. And that way they continue doing it. And they could, you can't always correct, but never say, at least you did something right. That you did right. Mentors develop and not manage. Develop people. You cannot control people, unfortunately. I know we would like to, but we can't. We are to dominate the earth, but we cannot dominate people. People have wills. God gave us a will for a reason, for us to make our own decisions. So you cannot control what people do, what people say, but you can manage how you teach them. You can manage the environment. You can manage the relationship. You can manage what they hear, what they see. You can actually manage yourself, which in turns mentors and develops them. So you want to develop a person. You want to develop their current abilities that you see. You want to develop their current vision. You want to develop them as a person, their character. So throwing them out to the wolves like my dad did and my brother and I all the time. He was developing us for this moment right here. Develop, not manage. Mentors, you also want to release authority and delegate activities. But again, as leaders, we are. So we don't want to give authority to anyone else. We want to have all the authority and we want to have all the power. And then you do one thing in a bedroom one night with someone other than your wife, and all your power and all of your authority is destroyed. And then you really have no power and no authority at that point. So give authority to others that you are mentoring to kind of fulfill their own purpose and kind of lead in their own area of gifting. And that is what my dad did to my brother and I. He gave us authority and power to run his business while he was alive. He gave us authority and power to make phone calls, make decisions in his name while he was alive. He put me over a particular department, put Char over a particular department, and then the world knew that. So now that he is no longer here, and people see us, there's no surprise. One, there's no question. Two, it's an automatic, this is what they were doing when he was alive. This is where they were when he was alive. So not only are you saving someone else, but you're also saving yourself and your own reputation, and also those of others. So release authority, give others chance, delegate the task. As a leadership, there's only so much that you can do to continue bettering the vision of the organization. But if you are so worried about doing so much because you want to have all the praise, then how can you enhance and develop the vision? Allow others to enhance different areas so the vision is continue to get better and better and better. Mentors, be honest with your correction, and just be honest, period. The saying goes, honesty is the best policy. That is ever so true. You want to be honest with yourself. You want to be honest with those you are teaching. You want to be honest with God. And then provide opportunities for others to learn. My brother said it again. Dad always threw us on stage and said, talk to the people. And we didn't want to, but that was that learning opportunity. You want to give others the opportunity to learn, even if it means senators, mayors, pastors, having one person with you every other day or once a week, just to kind of be in the office with you, to see how things operate, to see the decisions you have to make and why you make those decisions. That was it. That was the thing with my dad. My dad would make decisions. He would make choices. He would have options. He would have, very difficult and challenging situations. And I always wondered how he did that and why he made that decision. And so I kind of wanted to get close enough to see why and see how he made the decisions that he did to make him as successful as he is. And so it's important for us to give others the opportunities to learn and not be so selfish. And we must train, and teach. And then when that time comes, we must let go. We can't go through all of that and then still holding on. You can't have actually have trained someone, trained successor as you're teaching, and you're still holding on. Let's bring it home. A relay race. Imagine passing on the baton. You pass on the baton, you're ready. This person you passed it, you're ready to let go. You're ready to run, but then this person is still holding on to it. So many things are going to happen. I'm not going to be able to move. If I do move, I'm going to fall. When I do fall, they're going to fall on top of me. Then we're going to end up with chaos. We're going to end up with a travesty. So you need to let go. And letting go is not when you're dead. Letting go does not have to be when you die. It does not even have to be when you retire. Letting go just means letting go, maybe becoming the chairman, but someone else becomes the CEO. Because now you're able to sit and you're able to watch your company work the way you want it to, and even get better while you are alive. But you have to let go, and you have to be okay with letting go. Don't let go and then still be disgruntled. I just wish I was still there. No. In your mind and in your heart, be okay. God has he has another phase of life for you. If you're still alive, there's something else that you're supposed to do. But now you're still holding on to this. God is ready for you over here, and you don't want to move. So now you're messing up somebody else's position in life, and you're messing up where you're supposed to get to. So it's a domino effect. And of course, we know the greatest mentor of all was Jesus Christ. And we see in the scriptures where he passed his mantle on to the disciples. In Matthew 28:18, it says, Jesus came to them and said, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age." That scripture encompasses everything my brother and I have said tonight, this morning. Everything. He have trained them. He has mentored his disciples already. He wrote the vision, he made it plain, and he told them exactly what to do. He left instructions. He didn't leave them and didn't tell them what to do. So they have no excuse. They can't say, now what? I remember November 9th when everything happened. November 10th, my brother and I looked at each other, and we said, now what? Really, now, what are we supposed to do? Because we were that close to our parents, just like how Jesus and his disciples were that close. So you feel like a part of you is gone. But as time went on, God showed us exactly what now what was going to be, and we have yet to see what is going to continue to be. In Mark 16, he told us again, he said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be commenced." So when he arose, before he left the earth, he told them exactly what to do. They knew his vision. They knew his teachings. He trained them. They had no excuse. And that's why 2,000 plus years later, we can continue to follow the same God. We continue to hear about the same Jesus. We can continue to make a decision to say, I'm going to follow this Jesus. So all leaders, please stand. All leaders. Those of you that aren't sure, also please stand. And And I want to get that through your head because I want us to get away from title. Titles did not make you a leader. So whether or not you think you are a leader, just know that you are. Just know that either you haven't become that leader yet, or you're on your way, but just know that you are. And trust that whatever area of gifting your talents are, that God is going to equip you with whatever you need to lead in that area. Amen?
Just in closing, I don't think Charisa could have ended on a better note. This scripture where Jesus tells his disciples in detail what to do. In the Bible, when Jesus ascended into heaven, she said that leaders need to let go. But we as mentees and successors also need to know when to move forward. When Jesus ascended into heaven, the disciples were gathered around, and the Bible says that they just stood there gazing at the sky. Two angels appeared, came, looked. What's going on here? What are you guys looking at? Well, he's gone. He gave you the vision. There's no need for you to stand here stuck. Move. So I'm encouraging also the successors. When you are given the baton, there's gonna be a period where you're gonna be looking behind you, like, okay, are you gonna still be there? Is he gonna come back? But know that everything you need, you have been given. And move forward. Amen? Thank you.
Thank you once again for listening to this message, as we hope that it has been a blessing to you. Our goal is to show you new paths and opportunities so that you can discover your purpose. It is your love, support, and partnership that makes Munroe Global possible. Please visit us online at www.munroeglobal.com for more product, partnership, or to join us at one of our live events around the world.